I was talking yesterday about image schema in relation to performance and how, well, the idea of performance as it represents itself in different forms, theatrical performance, the performance of businesses, the performance of technologies, performance within things like science, and perhaps other kinds of mobilizations of the performance paradigm in things like walking, which I've spoken about before, but a wide range of things. How that concept, performance, might be realized as an image schema, which is something that comes out of well, Mark Johnson largely, but many other people, Lakoff, Leonard Talmy, quite a bunch of people talk about image schema. What I've just been thinking of in terms of that is that if I had to have a one single word for that, I wouldn't really use performance. I think I'd probably use the word show, or at least that would be an allied term. In fact, I'd love to see a linguistic analysis of the word show, in the way that Lakoff does a linguistic analysis of the word over, and I've seen analyses of words like to, T-O. Even though these are very simple, small words, which appear to be just kind of, well, just prepositions, just which kind of relate concepts. But that the way that relationship works in the literature is very complex indeed, actually. So words like over and words like to, once you excavate them, reveal quite a complex terrain of ideas, landscape of thoughts and concepts, and indeed schema. And I've got a feeling that a word like show would do the same thing. There are certain component parts of the concept of show which I think would have to appear in each case, as there are in words like over, which requires a kind of a body which I think they refer to as a trajector, moving above a landmark. So a word like show, would have to have a number of necessary features. I'm not quite sure what those features would be, but it would have to involve some kind of entity, and it would have to involve, it would be a kinesthetic scheme, it would take place over time. It would have an object of some kind, or an entity, and it would have a witness, possibly an agent which lay behind the entity, which was carrying out the act of showing, but not necessarily. Maybe that's a hedge or a kind of additional feature. So it would have the object or entity, and then it would have the witness, and then it would have the kind of moment of disclosure in which the showing takes place, if you like. I think something like that would, I think, obviously it applies in kind of theatrical context. I mean, we use the word show to describe what that is. But also, I think, when we're talking about performances in business, for example, you might say that the business made a good showing if its profits are up. And if you're doing a scientific experiment, we sometimes say that this experiment shows certain something, or something is shown by the data produced by the experiment. And I think the same thing is true of kind of sporting, athletic, technological kinds of outings as well. Again, the word show is often used in that context. I'm interested to give some more thought to that. And as I say, it's probably been written about somewhere. There probably is already an image schema around that concept. I haven't found it yet. Or maybe it's the combination of a bunch of others to do with containers, perhaps. But I quite like the idea of there being a schema, which is just about this showing, this highly structured, highly abstract set of parameters involving objects or entities, witnesses, and a moment of revealing.